Hello everyone. Today we will discuss one more important topic of thorax, that is the right ventricle. Now first of all, in this diagram let's look at the right ventricle. This is the right ventricle. From here the venous blood will enter into the right ventricle from the right atrium via tricuspid valve, and from the pulmonary artery, the pulmonary trunk, the venous blood from the right ventricle will enter into the lungs to be get oxygenated. Now the right ventricle actually forms the inferior border of the heart. This is the inferior border of the heart, and it also forms most of the sternocostal surface of the heart. As I told you before in the right atrium video that the heart has mainly two surfaces, sternocostal surface and the diaphragmatic surface. Sternocostal surface is surface of the heart which is visible from the anterior view of the heart, while diaphragmatic surface is the inferior view of the heart, means it is visible from the posterior view of the heart. Okay, so it forms most of the sternocostal surface of the heart, the right ventricle. Now we'll talk about the external feature of the right ventricle. It has mainly two surfaces, the anterior one or the sternocostal surface, this one, and the inferior or the diaphragmatic surface, that is this one, the posterior view. Now the internal feature of the right ventricle. Now it has mainly two parts, the inflowing rough part and the outflowing smooth part. First of all, let's look at these two parts in the diagram. This is the inflowing rough part and this is the outflowing smooth part. From the inflowing part, the venous blood will enter into right ventricle, and from the outflowing smooth part, the venous blood will enter into the pulmonary artery from the right ventricle. The inflowing part is actually rough due to the presence of muscular ridges called the trabeculae carni. Now you may know that during the embryonic life, the heart tube, which actually forms the heart of the human beings, so the heart tube is actually having a bulbous cordis part. Now this bulbous cordis part has mainly three further parts, that is the proximal, middle and the distal one. So this inflowing rough part is developed from the proximal part of the bulbous cordis of the heart tube in the embryonic life. Now the outflowing smooth part, it is also called as the infundibulum and is smooth and forms the upper conical part of the right ventricle, which give rise to the pulmonary trunk. As you can see over here, this is the infundibulum and it gives rise to the pulmonary trunk. Now I told you before, the bulbous cordis of the heart tube has three main parts, proximal, middle and distal. So the outflowing smooth part is developed from the mid portion of the bulbous cordis of the heart tube. Now these two parts, that is the inflowing rough part and the outflowing smooth part, are both separated from each other by a muscular ridge called the supraventricular crest or the infundibular ventricular crest, and this both crest, okay, now this is the supraventricular crest, this actually divides both the parts, that is the inflowing and the outflowing part, also called as the infundibular ventricular crest. It is situated between the tricuspid and the pulmonary orifice. This is the tricuspid orifice and this is the pulmonary orifice. So it is present in between these two orifices and it actually separates both the part of the heart. Okay, now the internal feature has two orifices also, that is the tricuspid orifice and the pulmonary orifice. Now let's look at these two orifices. This is the tricuspid orifice and this is the pulmonary orifice. Now the tricuspid orifice or the right atrioventricular orifice is actually guarded by tricuspid valve and the pulmonary orifice is actually guarded by the pulmonary valve. Simple. Okay, now as I told you before that the inflowing rough part has trabeculae carni muscles. Okay, now these trabeculae carni muscles are of three types: ridges, bridges and pillars. Ridges are actually a fixed elevation, then the bridges and the papillary muscles, also known as the pillars. Okay, now the papillary muscles are those muscles in which their one end is attached to the ventricular wall over here and the other end is connected to the cusp of the tricuspid valve by the chorda tendini. Over here as you can see, this chorda tendini. So by this chorda tendini, the papillary muscles are connected to a tricuspid valve. Now tricuspid valve has mainly three cusps: anterior, septal and posterior. Also, the papillary muscles are of three types: anterior, posterior and the septal. Now over here, the anterior papillary muscles are the largest out of the three muscles, that is the anterior, posterior and septal. The anterior is the largest one, while the septal have various of nipples in that. Okay, now marginal band or the septomarginal trabecule. Now first of all, let's locate this in the diagram. This is the moderator band. As you can see, this band is actually a muscular ridge which actually extends from the ventricular septum. As you can see, the ventricular septum which actually separates both the ventricles from each other, from the ventricular septum to the base of the anterior papillary muscle. This is the anterior papillary muscle. I told you before, papillary muscle have three types: anterior, septal and posterior. So anterior is the largest one, so it attaches to the base of the anterior papillary muscle. This is the marginal band over here. Now the cavity of the right ventricle actually crescentic in section because of the forward bulge of the interventricular septum. Also, one more important thing is that the wall of the right ventricle is actually thinner than that of the left ventricle in a ratio of 1:3. Okay, now the interventricular septum. Now the septum is actually obliquely placed, and it, as the name suggests, it will separate both the ventricles from each other. Now its one surface faces forwards and to the right because it is oblique, and the other surface faces backward and to the left. The upper part of the septum over here, the upper part of the interventricular septum is thin and membranous and separates not only the two ventricles only, but also the right atrium and the left ventricle as well, because it is oblique. So advantage of oblique interventricular septum is that it not only separates both the ventricles but also the right atrium from the left ventricle. The lower part is thick. The lower part is thick, as you can see. The lower part is thick and muscular and separates the two ventricles. The position is indicated by the anterior and posterior interventricular grooves. Okay, now let's talk about the clinical aspects of the right ventricle. Now first of all, what is precordium? The area of the chest wall overlying the heart is called the precordium. Now tachycardia, bradycardia, arrhythmia, palpitation, all these words you will hear in the medical field frequently, and these are, first of all, tachycardia. It is the rapid pulse or increased heart rate. Bradycardia, it is the slow pulse or decreased heart rate. Arrhythmia, irregular pulse or irregular heart rate. And the palpitation, it is the consciousness of one's own heartbeat, is known as the palpitation. Okay, now there may be inflammation of the heart and it can involve more than one layer of the heart. Now inflammation of the pericardium is known as the pericarditis. Inflammation of the myocardium of the heart is known as the myocarditis, and the inflammation of the endocardium of the heart is known as the endocarditis. These are the layer of the heart, and inflammation in any of these layers will cause the carditis of the respective layers. Now normally the diastolic pressure in the ventricles is 0. A positive diastolic pressure in the ventricle is evidence of its failure. Means if there will be any kind of diastolic pressure in the ventricle, the patient may have a chance of the failure of the heart. Any one of the four chambers of the heart can fail separately, but ultimately the rising back pressure because of the failure of the heart of any of the chamber causes right-sided failure of the heart, which is normally called as the congestive cardiac failure or the CCF. Congestive cardiac failure, which is mainly caused because of the pressure on the right side of the heart. It may cause because of heart failure in any of the chambers. Now it is mainly associated with the increased venous pressure, which will cause edema on the feet and breathlessness on the exertion. Okay, now what is cor pulmonale? As you can see, pulmonale means related to lungs. So the heart failure, especially the right sided one, due to lung disease is known as the cor pulmonale. Means any kind of lung disease which causes the heart to fail is known as the cor pulmonale. So this was all about the right ventricle. Just go through the diagram to understand it well. Thank you so much.